Hey, it's Kate. Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Love with Kate. Today we're going to actually do part 2 from last week's episode. I was given quite a bit of questions. Either people have asked me throughout my platforms, or I've been in conversation with people and these types of questions have come up, or I've actually watched or overheard other people having these conversations, and the questions resonated with me and stayed within my soul. So I figured, why not turn this into an episode of answering these questions? Not only for me to answer, but also for you to answer. Do a self-reflection, go within, or utilize these questions amongst your friends, your family, your loved ones. It's a great way to have a conversation. If you're anything like me, there's nothing greater than holding an in-depth conversation with someone, really truly getting to the core, getting to know their soul, peeling back the layers, and not just simply talking on a surface level. At times, yeah, sure, it sounds great. Sometimes we just need that. Maybe our energy's low. But for me, my soul just always wants to know more. It wants to dive deeper. It wants to get to the root of who you truly are. What's beneath your beautiful? Because at the end of the day, we can't hide behind our filters. We can't hide behind the vanity. So who are you truly? When no one is around, who are you? How do you want the world to see you? How do you reflect who you are to others? Does it align with who you are within? This is all the stuff I've been asking myself along this journey, this healing journey. A journey I've taken upon myself to really dive deep, go within and do the work. To find myself, to find my way back to myself, to find love within, and then see it outwardly, feel it outwardly, align with it outwardly. It's so different. It's so amazing how the world has transformed. How the more in depth I dive within self, within life, within healing, within spirituality, the more I align, the more my timelines shift. The more I shift within, and everything outwardly shifts. I'm abundant in all areas of my life because I'm aligned within myself, my life, my emotions. I'm a work in progress. I am perfectly imperfect. I am not here to appease others. Teach to learn, learn to teach. I am me. So let's go back to finishing up our questions. And the first question is, what is your soul's purpose? That one is pretty deep. I was asked this question in the beginning of my TikTok journey. I would say that I was in the core of doing some deep purging of my emotions, of my healing. And I had responded to the TikTok friend that I would get back to her, that I really couldn't answer that question. And I didn't want to just give any type of answer because I could have. I could have easily just said, this is my soul's purpose. But did I believe it at that time? No. If anything, that question terrified me because then I was overthinking, oversharing. I felt like I was overdoing everything, but that was all going on in my head. That was my ego battling it out. Oh my God, what is my soul's purpose? Oh my God, why don't I know that now? Why is this healing journey not taking me to my soul's purpose? Why am I doubting my soul's purpose? What is my soul's purpose? Yeah, those were the questions that I was having a battle with within myself. And that was where I was at mentally, emotionally, physically, all of it, spiritually. I cannot lie or sugarcoat that my biggest battle was my own self, was my own mind. Was the mind games I had conditioned myself to learn how to protect myself and be my own demise. So at that time, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for such questions. And I also wasn't ready to lie. I mean, you could tell that the work was taking place. It was transpiring. And I wasn't aligned with the former self that would lie or would mask an answer just to have an answer. So I was honest and said I would come back to her. And this is years later. Here we are. I mean, I began TikTok in October of 2021, and I probably got asked that question in the summer of 2022. So maybe about 9 months later, 10 months into doing some work. And here I am, 2024, and now just answering, what is my soul's purpose? Well, My soul's purpose is a plethora of things. It's not just defined as this is it. I don't believe in that. I believe that my journey and my purpose will always change because of growth. But I do believe and I do align and I do acknowledge that my soul's purpose is transmuting darkness into light. It's knowing that you have the capabilities, the strength, the outlook to go within, to do that inner work, do the shadow work, and to take that victim mentality, that darkness, and love it, and embrace it, and accept it for what it was, for the purpose it had in that time, and then simply let go. No longer attach yourself to that notion that I have to be the victim of my story. Rather, I can now be the warrior, the goddess, the king, the queen, whomever you are, however you identify. That can be your new title. And you get to take back your life. And you get to utilize your light through your darkness. You see, my darkness is not a negative. Once I learned how to embrace and accept what its purpose was, and understand what its purpose was, then I got it. Then it was the aha moment. And did it take some time? Well, yeah, think about it. 2024, I'm finally answering a question that took place in 2022. So a little over 2 years ago, it took me that long to find that alignment. But was I striving to figure that out? In the beginning, yes, because someone asked me a question and I hyper obsessed about it, which were all my insecurities, right? Those were all my inner wounds coming to the surface. And then I realized, let it all go. I don't have to have that answer because I refuse to give an answer that's just any simple answer. I refuse to give you a surface level response. So here I am, over 2 years later, and my soul's purpose is transmutation of darkness into light. It's of sharing my story, my healing, sharing my voice. It's accepting and embracing all of me, self-love. Pushing for self-love through all of us, not just us in our 30s and our 40s and our 50s saying, I want to take my life back, but identifying that for our younger youth, for our children, and bringing forth that energy so they don't have to take with them our trauma. It's breaking all generational curses and saying, the buck stops here. It's done. No more. It's diving deep within my soul and then sharing these gifts with everyone. And I even think my soul's purpose is to trigger people, honestly. I don't care for that part of my gift, but I'm learning to embrace that. As the story goes, as my life goes, as my triggers come to surface, I acknowledge them and I embrace them. Do I get excited that they're here? No, but am I okay when I'm triggered? Most definitely. Could I have said that 4 years ago? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am using my voice more so now than I've ever done before. I am speaking up and I'm an advocate. I'm not triggered and responding. I am using my voice as an advocate for self, for others, for the experience that I'm in that present moment. That's my soul's purpose. And I love it. And I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful that it's still continuing to change. I hold no expectations. I don't hold my breath while waiting for answers. I just continue to live and be present in the moment. So, next question is, how would you like people to experience you? Oof. How would I like people to experience me? I would love people to see me from all avenues. You can tell when you're around me and you're close to me, then you know me. You know all the layers there are to me. Because I won't sugarcoat it, I won't hide it, I'll take accountability. I can honestly say if I bring in people that have been around me, especially the past couple of years, that have known me forever, but have really seen a difference in a transformation in the last couple of years, they're going to probably say that I've changed. But I still carry with me the humor, the banter, the witty banter. There are many sides to me and many beautiful facets that not everyone gets to experience all the time. Do I change when I'm around different people? I might get quiet, but it's just who I am and it's how I observe. It's how I listen. It's how I feel and understand people's energy. So how I would like people to experience me is simply by getting to know me versus judging me by my looks. because I know that happens, and I guarantee it's all in protection for me. But there are times that I would love to get to know people that end up walking away. And it's probably because of fear or maybe ignorance. I don't know that part. But there are those moments I catch myself saying, man, I wish that person wouldn't have felt so apprehensive to speak up, to chat. But then again, I can't judge because sometimes I'm quiet. So maybe I need to speak up too. I need to mirror that reflection right back. And that's something I'm literally having this inner lesson going on right now as I'm doing this podcast. So I'm writing this mental note down in my head saying, okay, Kate, you just said it out loud. So rather than just constantly being quiet around new people, maybe that's your next goal. To step up your game, to put yourself out there. And I have found myself, obviously, when I travel, I have definitely put myself out there, speaking up for myself, not mumbling or whispering when I need help. I've definitely built that skill within me, and I've seen growth because now I feel confident in asking for help. I don't feel weak or less than or too vulnerable. I'm okay with my vulnerability. I actually have now learned to embrace my vulnerability, that I am a very open and vulnerable person. And I used to get judged for that or feel like I was too sensitive for it. But now I love it because I feel like it's one of my superpowers. So there are growth, but maybe more so now in the present, in my comfort zones of areas of when I'm going out, grocery store, restaurant, is being more vocal, saying hi to strangers, especially if I feel energetic reception from them. So I just took a mental note and you got to witness live right here on the spot of me having a moment, an inner moment. Again, I've said this over my podcast experience that this platform for me, now you could have something totally different for you. Utilize your gifts, utilize your newer gifts, and put yourself out there because by doing so, you're going to experience learning and growth and healing. And I can't say that enough, that I am grateful, beyond grateful, for having a friend that really pushed me forward, that literally slingshotted me forward into my creativity, to which I didn't even know was there. And by this beautiful counterpart doing so, she opened a door for me. I did all the work behind the scenes, but she was the encouragement behind the scenes. She was that little nudge that I needed in my life. And I am forever, forever, forever grateful for this beautiful, beautiful friend of mine. So with that being said, let's go back to the question. How would I like people to experience me? Just experience me with open arms, with an open mind, with an open soul. Be honest, be vulnerable. Honesty is key. Don't shy away from honesty because I'm going to feel that. And I want you just to be honest because whatever I share or don't share, or whatever questions you have, or maybe whatever boundaries you would like to set, I would like to know. I would like to learn. And that's kind of where I'm at on this path, is learning people's souls, understanding 3D in itself, but learning the depths of people's souls and their purposes. Our purposes together, our purposes apart. We're all intertwined, and together we are one. All right, next question. If I could spend today doing whatever I desire, what would it be? If I could spend today doing whatever I desire, what would it be? Oof. I desire to either be traveling, exotic, safari, rainforest, give me all that. But obviously I'm going to stick to nature. I would love to be in the Redwood Forest in California. I would love to be hiking, and not just 1 or 2 hour hiking. I'm talking hiking the trails, hiking the offbeat paths, walking the rivers and the Grand Canyon, the Red Rocks. If I could be doing one thing right now, that would be it. Being near water, near trees, camping, or in a cabin in the woods, amongst nature and water. That's exactly what I would be doing right now. And guess what? I'm there. One of my lifetimes, I'm already there, so it's okay. But for all of you, where would you be? If you could be doing one thing right now that you desire, what would you be doing? Is it surfing? Is it traveling? Is it cozied up next to a fire reading a book? Is it sitting with a loved one, catching up? Is it exploring? Is it going to that restaurant that you've always been wanting to go, but you still haven't done it yet? What would you do? What is it your soul desires right here, right now? And then I want you to ask yourself, why aren't you? Why haven't you yet? And hopefully it's not because of lack, but rather it's because of timing, and that you trust in divine timing, and that you don't want to rush the process. Whatever it may be, maybe that's the goal you set for yourself. After listening to this episode, write it down and journal it. Say, I am doing XYZ right here, right now. Put that out into the universe. Manifest it. Make plans for it. Make it yours. Because you're worthy of it. Aren't we all? Aren't we all worthy of just being happy and not waiting around for happiness to come find us? Because guess what? That's not how it works. You got to put yourself out there. As do I. If you want to see the changes, then you have to become part of the change. Hold no expectations. Therefore, you're no longer disappointed, but rather excited for what does come. Because when we hold on to that thought, that attachment, and it doesn't come in specifically the way we desired, then we're disappointed. Or we are just not even present for it. We don't even see it or acknowledge it to be grateful for it. Don't become that. I was that person. Don't let that be you. Be present and be grateful for whatever does come. Because the universe isn't always going to give us exactly what we desire in that exact energy that we visualize. And we have to be ready and grateful because we're present and open to receiving it. That is the key. All right, so let's move on to the next question. And that one is, what is your most joyous and meaningful activity? And right away, I would probably say, being out in nature, but it goes a little deeper than that. And that is to feel oneness within as well as around, which is probably why I want to say nature, because I always feel at one with self as well as energy in nature. So that is my answer then, oneness. What is my joyous activity is when I feel whole within and without. And the funniest thing about that is, as I was going through my answer, it was 1111, which is oneness, which is wholeness within. So, universe is validating my response. And now we're going to move on to the next question is, what do you hold sacred in your life? And there was several responses that I've heard people share, which I'll give a couple examples, is having a life plan or feeling oneness. And that's a beautiful response. Because we were just talking about oneness and what that feels like to hold alignment, having routines and rituals. And I definitely could correlate with that, as I do have my own practices throughout my days and weeks and months and years. But my answer was love, intimacy, and connections within relationships. And when I say intimacy, most people think, the word sex, but it has nothing to do with that. Intimate moments are shared amongst all who you feel aligned with, and that you could navigate a deeper level with. That's what I love and hold sacred, is intimate moments shared. And whether that's within my own self in a moment while on my traveling journeys, I shared intimate moments, whether they were with strangers or within a place, a time, a moment. I woke up early one day and caught a sunrise above the ocean. And that was intimate. That was peaceful. That was my zen in deep reflection. And I carry on amazing, amazing relationships with friends. And they're intimate. We have intimate moments where we're able to just truly peel back layers and be ourselves in those moments. And sometimes that could be scary for people. I know in the beginning it was for me, because you have to be vulnerable and you have to expose parts of yourself that you were unaware they were there. But if you find the right people who do trigger you, but also hold space for you and share this energy with you, that you're protected, then it is more deep and more intimate and more meaningful to have that bond that isn't like any other friendship. And my last question, this one kind of coincides with the values, but I loved this question as it was a part of a test. And I'm going to share the responses because, again, not so black and white. And you can find yourself wanting to check off each box, but you can only pick one, which then makes you overthink, right? And this is how I didn't overthink. This is how I utilized my intuition. So response 1 was truth. And again, the question was, what is your highest virtue? I am a big believer of truth. If you don't have truth, then what do you have amongst other people? It's null and void. It doesn't exist. It's very surface level, and it's pretend, make believe. It's fake it till you make it. And I don't desire that in my life. When you can't fully be honest or don't know how to, I can hold space for that if you understand that that's your trauma that's seeping through. But if you're in denial of all of it, I just can't be around it. I choose that for myself, for my healing, for my energy, and for my space. The next response was beauty. And how I looked at that was beauty within, beauty around, or is it beauty that is your vanity, surface level? And I always like to go beneath the surface or ask others, what's beneath your beautiful? Because without that, do you still align? Or is it your beauty is only exterior? But when someone gets to know you within, it doesn't match up. Loyalty. Are you devoted? Do you have a vision? Are you sincere? All great. I mean, these are all great, right? You want to pick every single one. Understanding, abstract thinking, planning, and flexibility. I love this. I mean, right away, immediately, this would not be my highest virtue. It's a part of my everyday life. But it wasn't something I felt vibrated through me and said, ooh, this is my response. Strength, courage, power, independence. All amazing things. And something in my healing journey that I realized I had that I didn't have to shame myself for. I didn't have to pretend anymore. I didn't have to lie that I was so strong, because in those moments I wasn't. And that's okay that I was weak. But acknowledging and taking accountability for the fact that I was lying all my life, pretending I was strong when really I wasn't. I was hurting and I was living in trauma. So now that I know my strength and now that I know I have it, it's a beautiful thing. The next response was order, self-reliance, courage, transformation, practicality. Well, I could definitely say yes to this because of the courage it took to dive deep within and do the shadow work. In any given moment, I could have said, I'm done. I want to go back to my old ways, go back to drinking, go back to that not caring or pretending or faking until I make it. But I wouldn't survive that. I know that within my soul. I would not survive any further. And that's even scarier. Therefore, doing the work and feeling this love for myself, I'll never not stop. And the last response was love, faith, compassion, and calmness. So immediately, I'm a love. I love love in all forms, unconditional love. And it's because I love thyself. And I think that's the greatest love you can give and receive, is the love for yourself. True divine love. So this is obviously my response. But it wasn't just because I saw the word love and I said, that's mine. Obviously, my brain wanted to go back to clicking them all, checking every single box. But it says to only pick one. And rather than perseverate and feel the anxiety of being overwhelmed by having to choose, I sat quietly and listened of what my body, my intuition, my soul desired. And immediately that was the highest virtue for me is love, faith, compassion, and calmness. And again, that doesn't mean my other virtues don't exist. They do. But the question did ask, what is your highest virtue? And it's because of the love I found for myself that I choose that response. So here we are, peeling back the layers on part 2 of infinite love, getting to know oneself, getting to know me sharing with all of you what it is I do when I'm approached with conversations like these. I love them. I love navigating through them. I love that I can respond now from a greater perspective than I could have 4 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I love that I acknowledge some things I need to push myself on during this entire episode. I love that you got to experience me acknowledging that moment, acknowledging that aha moment. So I hope you asked yourself the same questions. I hope you were able to follow along and have a conversation with yourself. Or take these questions and bring them to your loved ones, to people whom you desire to peel back layers with. And again, until next week, thank you for sitting with me and joining me on another beautiful episode of Infinite Love with Kate. Have an amazing day.